Hello everybody, this is once again Lance Danger, or Alvaro Cortez Jr. if you prefer, and I'm here to do day 5 of the 100 days of making comics challenge. I did some more thumbnails today. I took it a little bit easy today, as I mentioned in the previous video. I'm recovering from bronchitis and sinus at the same time. So today was a rare day that I had most of the day to myself, that I didn't really have to do much of anything in my real life right now. So I actually ended up sleeping in today and just generally resting up so I could later on work more on everything I need to do, and for when I eventually start classes in a few weeks. The test I was talking about in the previous video as well, I officially passed it. It was a pretty big test, so I passed that. And on yesterday's video I showed you some of the thumbnails that I had done for Warlord on the webcomic, and today I wanted to show you I already had scanned the images, as I had explained, in the library of the bigger sized art boards where I'm doing the remake of the comic for the floppy physical version of the webcomic that I'm going to eventually publish. But I kind of wanted to show the actual pages right now. This is the cover. I bought a artboard that's specifically for covers, so it has lined out the area where the logo goes, where the publisher information would go, and barcode information as well. It's actually pretty cool, since I'm most likely self-publishing this and most likely use a site like kablam.com to print it out. What I'll do is they'll likely pay an homage to all those great 90s comics, that the direct market edition of those comics, those covers, instead of having the actual barcode in, they would usually have some kind of illustration of their characters in that space. I believe it was Todd McFarlane that popularized that when he was on Spider-Man in Marvel. So I'm pretty much end up doing that as a nod to all those comics that I grew up with. Anyway, here's the full pencils to the prologue, and I also have here what's going to be the title page, also in full pencils. And these I have scanned in. I'm going to ink them eventually in Manga Studio. And I did not explain this thoroughly in the day 3 video, I think it was, or maybe it was actually day 1 when I was in front of that library in Manhattan. I explained it in a little bit more detail, I believe, in my Facebook. And the reason why I was in that library is because they have a flatbed scanner that actually can scan in these full-size art boards, so I won't have to go through the hassle of scanning half of the page in, then scanning the other half in, and then pasting it all together in Photoshop. This really is a time saver. This is page 1 of the remake, and I'm doing these on actual lined art boards that are produced to make comics. And as I mentioned in my process of how I do comics, the other pages that I have here that I'm actually showing for the first time, I don't know if you can appreciate it well, but these are the pages before I put in the final pencils. These are the rough drafts of the page, or rather the layouts. So when I do the thumbnails, I'll do a very light layout on the page. just to get like a general overview of how the page is going to look like. And if it flows well and if it translates well into the bigger actual page, then I just start work on it, putting in the full pencils and rendering everything in. If not, I'll just probably, if I think a certain angle will work better, or maybe an extra panel, or maybe one less panel, I will likely just erase it and either do another thumbnail with that additional scene or with a different angle, or I'll just draw it in right into the board on the fly right there. Like, I have 12 pages of the prologue remake pretty much like this, with the exception of the first page, which I have in penciled completely. Everything else from like page 2 to 12 are in this very light layout format. Here you go, page 7. I've been really having a lot of fun doing this kind of remake, if you wish to call it that, though I would probably call it more like an adaptation, since it's not really going to replace the actual webcomic. This is just so I can have a physical copy, and even though I have a physical copy of the original prologue, like, it would be just nice, since I'm going to have to redraw everything from chapter 1. It would be just nice to redo this one as well, so there can be consistency in the things that I publish. Here's page 11. Originally, the prologue was 12 pages long, but in this remake, what I'm going to do is that I'm combining the prologue with the webisodes that I did. The webisodes were like these 5 little mini stories I did before chapter 1 officially began updating on the internet, sorry. And I did it kind of as a bridge between the prologue and chapter 1 to kind of flesh the characters out a little bit more and give it like a bit of an introduction to the readers of the personalities of these characters. And to an extent, it worked really well, but in another extent, it dragged the story a little bit too long for my taste. And what I did for this remake of the prologue, instead of having it just 12 pages like the original, I decided to just make it like one full issue, 22 pages, combining both the prologue and the webisodes to just make one coherent, cohesive story. And that's pretty much what I wanted to show you guys right now. Again, I worked about 15 minutes on the thumbnails. Since I'm very well rested right now, I'll likely start either inking this page or working on the page I did for the webcomic. Again, I have decided to update Warlord once a week for the time being, as I get around to scheduling things around me better and just seeing how to maneuver all these personal projects and more professional projects as well as doing these videos and my return to writing blogs, which has been kind of put on the side track for now until I had all this stuff get out of my system. Like, at first I had to stop writing blogs because of a shoulder injury, an old recurring soldier. Well, it has to do with that, I guess, but an old recurring shoulder injury where I still have to go through physical therapy, but it's not as bad as it was a few months ago. And again, now with the bronchitis and the sinus attacking simultaneously, I had to like put some things on hold, but now that I'm feeling a little better, now that all the medications have kind of kicked in and I rested quite a bit today, I'm feeling pretty good, or at least better than I have these past few weeks. Well, anyway, this video is running about 10 minutes long, so I'll cut it here. And thank you for watching so far. And again, day 5, flawless victory. Catch you all on day 6.